Hello, hello. Come up, everybody. My uh my Word doc, my Google Doc was going haywire. Like it was like I was holding in the enter button, or like somebody was taking over my computer doing things. Because I didn't even hit the enter button for it to be stuck or something. Um, so I was having a hard time pasting my links, and that always makes
See,
me that makes you
it's happening
scared.
to you too. Gracious.
Maybe it's just Clubhouse. I was going back and forth between Clubhouse, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, that always scares me because then I'm like, because people could do that. So they do hack in and then kind of like overtake computers and mess with you. But um, I don't think that's what it is. But that was frustrating when I'm trying to do something in a timely manner. But got all my links in there. Hello, everybody. Come up, come up. I think the other rooms are just ending. Got a pretty important room, actually, I think. Might be a little bit short if people don't have questions, but there is, as the title suggests, something I need to kind of talk about and make sure everybody is thinking about and things that they should be doing. Let's make some moderators. 2, 3, 4, and 4 plus me makes 6. We'll do a third row. I think that's right. Whatever. That's enough. You can all handle if somebody has to come up or I don't see something or whatever. Give me a heads up as I get into this. And we're at 4 after, so we can get started, I guess. Get rocking and rolling. People can watch the replay later. If I can find, if my Google Doc doesn't go haywire now. All right, I think it's fine. Except I have about 80 carriage returns. All right, no, I'm deleting them. And hopefully it listens and no one hacks into my Google Doc while I'm doing this today. Anyhow, all right. Thanks for joining us today in Google for Real Estate. We're here live on Clubhouse every Wednesday, 9 to 10 a.m. I'm Derek Bixler, commercial and residential. Ooh, I just deleted a bunch of that line. Commercial and residential real estate agent of 18 years. I deleted the part where I'm a single dad of 3 awesome children. They were kind of pain this morning, but they're still awesome. Outdoor adventure sportsman and Google marketing geek. In this room, we talk about how to dominate Google local search and get business from our Google business profiles, as well as discuss other Google tools, maybe having to do with marketing, maybe not. And sometimes we talk about other marketing things or real estate-y things. Replays are available on Clubhouse for 7 days. So today I'll delete last week's room, and all the replays are available via the link in the chat. It's just a Google Drive folder on my website where you can get all the things. Please come up on stage if you are joining us here live. Your participation is welcome and encouraged. You don't have to say anything, but if you do, that's totally fine. Either way, if you have a question, interject, or you don't understand something, or you have an experience about something, or expertise that I don't have, or the same expertise, whatever, a different opinion, all interaction is welcome. And if you're in a different profession or you know somebody in a different profession or business outside of real estate, as long as it's a local type of business, all these things we talk about applies and could be adapted to other businesses. Like I said, links are in the chat, replays, the Spotify. This is on podcast players now, Apple Podcasts, Discovery Call link up at the top and in the chat if you need help later. Today, we'll do some AMA if anybody has any questions or issues or anything with Google Business Profile or local services ads or other, like somebody was asking me about Facebook ads targeting the other day. Any kind of questions like that, I can usually help or at least point you in the right direction if I don't know myself. So a little bit of Ask Me Anything. And then we will go into, I've been seeing an uptick in suspensions, verification, trouble getting verified, calls, Google calling businesses to see if their hours are correct, all these things. Basic, just uptick in scrutinization of Google business profiles. So I just want to talk about that and make sure everybody's watching out for a few things. There's at least one thing that I think we all need to change. And we kind of go back and forth on this one thing, but we'll go into that. One thing I would change immediately, having to do with them calling the business, and then possible other changes you might make over time. One of the things you also don't want to do is change like your name or a lot of things a lot of times in a short period of time. So a lot of these things you might want to do over time, but we'll go into that a little bit. So that's my PSA. And I think these are some things people need to know like right now and implement the one thing probably today while we're in this call. So we'll talk about that. Review Exchange, always encouraged and welcome as well. Feel free to put your review link in the chat if you're here live. And then you can give a review, get a review. Again, best practice, send that person a screenshot of it so they know you did it. Um, and then you can go about your business and try to reciprocate if somebody gives you one. I answered like 3 or 4 yesterday, so I am still going through mine. But if you gave me a review and I did not get to you yet, I will. I'm still going through them. And I try to do it thoroughly, so I'm not just throwing stuff at the wall. My reviews are pretty fantastic, I think, and I give them a nice screenshot, and I copy and paste to their Facebook business page if they have a Facebook business page, which is super easy to do, and that's a nice value add if you're doing it for somebody, or if you're doing it for another local business. That's another good way to reciprocate with other business owners outside of real estate, because then you can network locally and make nice with local business people, plus get a review, and then you can go those extra steps. If they're on Yelp, you could copy and paste it onto Yelp, and when you send them a screenshot, like here's a Google review I gave you, and I also pasted it all these different places, Angie's List, wherever you could. They're gonna love you because that's really going above and beyond. So anyway, re, review exchanging is encouraged. Put your link in the chat if you want to do that. Um, and I think that's it for my announcements and whatnot. So I'll open it up for AMA. Ask me anything. If anybody has any questions or issues with Google Business Profile, local services ads, or anything digital marketing related, we'll do that. And then I'll go into my program for the day. So good morning, everybody. I don't think anybody has said anything yet. So I'll shut up. Good morning. And does anybody have any questions, issues? None from anybody. You just want to see what we need to do to not get suspended. Yes, we all want to know that. So let's get into
Derek,
it.
I can hop in. Let me
Yeah, go
give you
for
a
it.
question. Good morning, everybody. It's Cindy over in Salt Lake. First, I wanted to say thank you, Derek, for being so consistent and helping all of us get our Google shit together. Appreciate you. Okay. Um, could you just run through the process of when your office that you have registered on Google, when the office location's going to change? Could you run down what's the steps on that?
Yep.
I guess you get, so I'm guessing re-verification's needed or,
Correct. Anytime it's typically only the address. Well, in the past, it seems to be maybe they're doing a little bit more now, but typically, anytime you change the location, for sure, almost for sure, here and there, they'll let you do a text. But if you change your location, meaning your address in your main settings, that will trigger yes a re-verification. Um, Before you trigger that, some things. So if you change brokerages, that happens immediately, and to be compliant, you need to change that at least in your name immediately, probably. So that you would probably do just immediately, right? If you're Derek Bixler EXP Realty, I would immediately change it to Derek Bixler Coldwell Banker Remax, whatever it was. And that should take effect and not trigger a re-verification anything, and that immediately gets you at least partially compliant. And then with the address, if you're not showing an address, compliance doesn't matter. You're just switching the address because you want to, or now you want to use the broker's address or whatever. Uh, but if you are showing your address, you need to switch it. I would not switch it until you have all the proof that they're going to want. That's a lot of times, and what I'm going to talk about today is they want proof of everything you're trying to claim on your Google business profile. So the second you trigger a re-verification, or you're suspended for some reason, you got to prove everything in writing, which means a utility bill, pictures of marketing materials like your signs, business cards, brochures, pictures of the office and the inside, any insurance documents. If you're using an LLC or a corp or anything, you need those actual documents, the articles of incorporation, LLC, whatever that's called. They want to see real hard proof of all these things, reiterating and proving basically the address you're claiming, the phone number you're claiming, and the name you're claiming. Those are the biggest things. So before you trigger a re-verification, you're going to want to get all those items together, which if anybody needs, I have lists of these things. And you want to overkill too. Everybody, I'd say 9 times out of 10, that's the reason somebody got suspended or went through all their verification video tries and now they're to the no verification methods left because when I dig into it in these rooms, like, yeah, I did all the stuff. I did all the stuff. I did it right. And then when we get in a call and I really dig in, there are a couple settings maybe, but more times than not, it's just one of the things like utility bill. Oh, I didn't have a utility bill, so I did it without that. Well, they specifically asked for it and they want that, and that's a big thing. So you can't skip things, or there's multiple things they didn't do, and it's no fault of theirs. Who knows how you're supposed to do these things? I mean, it is listed out when you do it, but still, you're not expert at this. And with a Facebook business page, you don't have to do all this crap. Although they do have a different verification now on Facebook business pages. I think it might be elective at this point. But anyway, um, how do you know these things? But anyway, yes, you want to have all those things together before you trigger a re-verification so you can re-verify as fast as possible and not have any issues. So typically the utility bill is the biggest one because if you're using the broker's address, you're not having your electric bill or your gas bill or whatever sent there. And actually you could have your bills sent. You could have the service address one place and the billing address somewhere else. So you could, however, the cell phone bill is usually the one people opt for and the easiest one to change maybe. So just have your cell phone, which is probably the matching number also on your Google Business profile, have that as your utility bill, have that billing address moved to the brokerage. So it might take you 30 days to get your first bill to use to take pictures of or whatever, because you want an actual bill that was mailed, pictures of it, the envelope, the date, everything very clear to provide to either show in the video, or if you're suspended, you have to upload documents and do things. So get all that together. The utility bill is usually the one that takes the longest or the one people try to skip or try to get around. So probably just get your cell phone number sent there. Hopefully that number matches, the address matches to what you're trying to change it to, all that. And then you're going to show things like your real estate license. Some states don't have physical licenses. If you do, like Pennsylvania, a lot of states do have physical licenses. When you're at a cloud brokerage, a lot of times it gets sent there and then they don't send the actual card to the agent. Like there's supposed to be the bigger certificate that they have to have hanging in their office or whatever. And then the card is supposed to go to the agent. In my state, with my brokerage, they didn't send it to. I had to specifically say, hey, send me that card. And then EXP mailed me my card.
And
So
Shannon,
you might have to do that. If you have that physical thing, I would have that and pictures of the physical card, not just screenshots of online. Some people only have online, so that just is what it is. But the utility bill and the real estate license would prove your name if you're trying to use your name. If you're like a team Bixler or something, if you're trying to use that, then you got to have LLC documents for Team Bixler or incorporated documents for Team Bixler or whatever, or else it won't work. Um,
awesome. Thank you, Derek. Hey, Shannon, your mic's hot.
Oh no, sorry.
Thanks, Derek. That was great. Good stuff. Appreciate it. Thank you, dear.
yeah, all good. Hit me up if you need a concise list of what you need or anything,
That'll
but
be coming
that's
shortly. Yes, I will.
yeah. Just make sure overkill. That's the key there. All the items they ask for, provide them, make sure everything matches, and overkill is better than underkill. Otherwise, you just get progressively harder to get yourself back and running every time you mess up. So great question, and that was a great segue into what we're talking about here. So I have seen. Well, any questions or anything else before I move on?
Derek, I have one. This is Lisa in Florida. It'll
Good
just be a
morning.
quick second. Um, So I do have my business Google page, and many of course, my agents want to have their own Google page. If they use the business address, won't that pull the verification away from the one I already have?
So having multiple Google business profiles in one location, yes, you're all competing with each other. Typically, the one or two who actually spend any amount of time on their Google business profile or paying any attention to it are the two that win out. It's every brokerage I've ever been to. I beat every agent and the brokerage. The brokerage itself is usually the worst at it, or doesn't pay that much attention to it. But and they do now kind of put agents underneath a brokerage. So you will see sometimes, well, number one, sometimes you'll see if there's a brokerage at an address and per Google, it's like vetted, been there, trusted within Google's algorithm. If an agent then changes their address to that address, sometimes they'll be able to verify via text, which is amazing and awesome. And sometimes doesn't always hold because 2 days later they'll say, no, never mind, you need to do the video. But sometimes you'll be able to do the text and it'll hold because Google already knows that there's a real estate agency there that's trusted. And now there's an agent moving there, and maybe the agent's profile is already somewhat trusted also. So they say, okay, we'll let them move there because this all looks legit, and let them text to verify. And then they will put those agents kind of under the brokerage in some views. So if somebody clicked on the agency's profile and Google has figured this all out, this is clearly the agency, this is Remax or whatever you are, and these are all the agents that are at Remax, it will actually, if you clicked on the agencies, it will say agents at this location, and then it will list the agents' business profiles within it, which is obviously not that advantageous to the agents, but is pretty good for the brokerage. If Google recognizes all that, it doesn't always put all that stuff together perfectly like that. Some kind of droning on good and bad. Yes, you'll be competing with each other if they move there. Um, it does give you
So,
more chances of dominating in that area, but you would be competing with them. If competing is an issue, then just have them use their home address and hide the address for compliance. Go ahead.
okay, that's what I was going to ask. Thank you.
Yeah,
If they
and
would just
that's
hide their
usually my
address.
go-to for agencies because they if it in the perfect agency world, you'd have only yours at the agency, and then you'd try to rank and do all the things there, and you'd force all your agents to use their houses and hide their address. So now you rank at the office, and you can also have potential of ranking with your brokerage name all over town at Betty's house, at Johnny's house, at all over the different places. So you've kind of spread yourself out all over the market area. Which is great for agent. If you're looking at it from the agent side, not quite as advantageous. You can, if possible, it's nice to have a physical address with the directions button, with an actual office, all those things. It's not a huge deal if you don't and have to hide your address, but perfect world, if you had your choice, a physical office would be nicer. So there might be some agents that would like it or whatever. And it makes sense. You could, when you have a settlement, you say, hey, just Google me, click directions, and drive there. But if you're the broker owner and you're really doing it savvy, and I have come across a couple brokerages that they before me they had that as policy. You could not have a Google business profile at the office or whatever. So two schools of thought, but from the broker's eyes, yeah, have them use their house, hide the address for compliance. Anything
Thank
else on that or anything different?
Hey, Derek, it's Isala from Phoenix, Arizona. So my question, I think, is going to go into what you're going to be talking about, but I have two of my agents that we got a branch office, and when they went to change the address, they got suspended. We've gone back and forth with Google. Sorry, I'm hiking. And we've been going back and forth, and they keep telling us there's a violation, but they won't tell us what the violation is. So we have two agents that are suspended right now because of the change of address.
Yeah, and this goes in line with what I've been seeing, which is, yeah, I guess we'll just go into it. I have seen an uptick this week alone. I had three video, No, 2 this week, 1 like end of last week. So 3 in the last 7 days or whatever, um, which is more than average for sure. Usually I do a few suspensions, couple suspensions a month maybe. So those are actual calls of people that were like, I'm suspended, I need to fix it. Plus a couple others that just happened in the last like 2 weeks or so that I'm in contact with the people and starting to work through it or whatever. I've definitely also verifications. A lot of people not being able to do the video verification or going through their steps or it just not working and them getting locked out, which is different than a suspension, but similar type issues. So just a general high scrutinization of businesses and Google wanting businesses to prove themselves. So it makes sense that that would happen. Usually it would only trigger a re-verification. And then if you do that wrong or poke around, change things while you're unverified too much, then they might, or do other things that are against policy, then you might end up suspended. So a little bit strange that it would go straight to suspension, and maybe it didn't. Sometimes you don't get the whole story, but regardless, you're in what you are now. You're suspended. Basically, you have to, like I said to Cindy's question, we now, whether it's verification, suspension, whatever, community help thing to get a ticket escalated, anything, we have to prove what's in the name, the phone number, the address. The name and the address are the two biggest, hugest things, but the phone number, even the website, though, like when I go into the calls with people, we go through the entire edit profile tab, which actually that's what I was going to do today. Just go through all the things that we want to make sure are consistent and a couple settings that we want to update right now. Well, one that like right now I would update because they are starting to call businesses more. So um, yeah, I'll go through this and it should answer the questions as I go through all this, but proof is what they'll need, and they'll need to go through all their settings and make sure all their settings are kind of per what I'm about to say, and then proceed from there. Because, like Azella said, they don't tell you anything. It says something blanket like deceptive content or against policy content, or it could be all kinds of things. You don't know if it was your updates or your products, or usually it's your main settings because that's what they care about the most. But who knows when they change an algorithm, and who knows what they change in it until everybody starts observing it. I haven't heard anybody on podcasts talk about an uptick yet, probably because those people wait to talk to each other to really vet it out to come out with something to talk about it. So it makes sense that they wouldn't be saying anything, and maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. I'm not officially saying it's an algorithm change or anything like that, but I personally have definitely seen an uptick in issues with all these things. So I'll go through the edit profile tab, which is pretty much the only tab you will have access to once you get suspended or even unverified. Verification, you might see the other tabs, but a lot of times you can't add products or do updates or add photos while you're not verified. You're kind of locked out of it. But for sure, when you get a suspension, you're locked out of all the stuff, and you can't get reviews, nothing, until you get unverified, except you do have access to your main settings. So you can go through there, make sure they are all compliant, make sure all your documentation is going to back all those things up, and then you go through the process. So I am now in the edit profile tab. That's what it's called, verbatim. And right at the top, it's going to have our business name. So this is one of the things that you would, if you were having suspension issues or verification, or you're going through verification, you would want to simplify the name from what we typically do. So we kind of get away with some keyword stuffing and things because of being real estate agents and being a practitioner, quote unquote, listing, and partially just because they don't really check it. Nobody reports it. So we do it because it helps us rank for terms and things. So we kind of keyword stuff the title with Carlisle Realtor, Derek Bixler, Carlisle Realtor, EXP Realty. So where the Carlisle Realtor part is kind of a keyword stuffing, we need to take that out of there. Again, usually not an issue if you're not being scrutinized or you're going through verification or suspension or anything. But if you are, you definitely want to correct the name to an exact name that you can prove, basically. So at the very least, I would need to delete the Carlisle Realtor part, and it needs to just say Derek Bixler, comma, Realtor. The Carlisle part, definitely keyword stuffing. The Realtor, that is what I am, so I can argue that that is what I do. That's my business. I don't have an LLC or anything. I am Derek Bixler. I'm a realtor. And then for compliance, obviously, I want to have the EXP Realty left on there also because, well, that is my business. I'm an agent. I'm a practitioner listing at this business. So it should be on there. Makes sense that it would be on there, but Google doesn't necessarily care about real estate laws or compliance or any of that, or understand it even. So when you go to prove it, you actually have to take off that brokerage. And I know this from very recent experience going through the help community and one of the top product experts taking on my issue with, I don't know if that person's in the room, but and doing all these things. So everything I'm telling you right now is per what I just went through with the top product expert, blah, blah, blah. So the this product expert told me that we cannot prove, like, we don't own EXP Realty, Remax, Coldwell Banker, Real Broker, whatever. You don't own that, and you can't prove that you own that. So the name really just needs to be either Derek Bixler Realtor, Derek Bixler, comma, real estate agent, because that is exactly what I can prove with all of my documentation. Or if I am a team or have an LLC or something, then it could be Team Bixler, and you can leave off the LLC, he said, or that kind of thing if it's ugly. And usually the LLC is ugly, so I usually leave that off, and you can, he said.
Okay, but
But
Derek,
go ahead.
my LLC's not ugly, and I have a question. Let me know when I can pop in.
The LLC part is ugly, not the LLC itself. But go ahead.
So the question is this: my LLC is different than my name. My LLC is Global Vention. Okay, and because I'm running a part of my relocation consulting business in Europe through the same LLC, don't have that on Google. What I have on Google is Cindy Ariona Real Estate Group. And so, how am I going to?
I would just leave it as that because you're not trying to
Yeah.
operate as a team. If you were like telling me, I'd like to operate as Team Uriona and I've got a team, well, is that an actual LLC? Are you just calling yourself that? Because you can't on Google or anywhere really, you shouldn't. But if you were going to call yourself some team or you wanted to operate as that, or that's what you wanted your Google business profile to be called, Team Uriona, then you would have to have proof of that. But you're not, you have an LLC, but that's not what you're trying to operate as here. So it's fine to not, you don't need to use that. I would just do your name in your case.
Okay.
Does
Well,
that
I
make
like
sense?
that. I like that you can pronounce it. There's some cute ones here with pink circles down there, right under Mia, who goes Yerioni, and I love it. I
That's
do
because
love that
I
too.
did a podcast episode with you long ago and I have to learn everybody's name when I do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's real cute. I love it. I don't correct because it's too dang cute.
At least they try, Cindy. That's better than not,
Love it.
right?
I love it. It's so endearing, especially when they have those cute Southern accents when they're doing it.
It is a tough one. You got to think of every time, I'm sure teachers, every time they looked at you, Cindy, you're, oh,
Yeah, and
no,
then they'd
it's
say,
not like Smith, Cindy Smith.
and then they said, okay, that's three strikes against you right there, because I had four older rebel brothers that were ahead of me. So they set it up for me to be in trouble.
Yeah, and it's pretty straightforward actually if you just spell it out. But yes, I would name yourself Cindy Uriana. I can't even when I'm trying to say it right. Comma realtor is probably what I would go with, and then make sure all your documentation adds up, and then down the road add the brokerage back onto the name, hopefully, because we do want to do that for compliance. You could try it if you're just going through re-verification, you get a couple tries at the video. So you could try first Cindy Uriona, comma, realtor, space, line, space, brokerage. So have your brokerage on there. And then if it doesn't work the first time, maybe remove it for the second try. because your
Well,
documentation does, your real estate license says that brokerage, I have done it and it has worked. This person said not to put it on there recently, so I am opting to follow this person's advice, but you have a couple tries. Go ahead.
well, I was hoping I was going to have you give us a video of exactly how you run from place to place, and you're doing the video from your house down to here, down the street. I think I've heard you talk about that in your verification processes or something. I'm just pulling
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah, I wish I could do it for people actually, but I can't because I coach people on how to do it, and then you unleash them to go do the video on their own, hopefully correctly. Yes, it'd be funny. I would love to see a supercut of a bunch of people doing their. Actually, that'd be a good marketing video, maybe. Somebody sprinting down the street, like trying to show the street signs for their stupid verification video. Yeah, I like that idea. So your name, definitely want to update. So if you're doing the place keyword stuffing like we've been doing, I wouldn't necessarily, or you don't need to, and I wouldn't right this second change that because I'm going to tell you to change a different setting, like right now. Um, so maybe after you change the other setting that I'm going to tell you to change right now, you could come back and remove your keyword stuffing if you wanted to be proactive about following policies to a T. I don't think you necessarily have to, but if you wanted to err on the side of caution, you could remove that Carlisle or place part and just be name, comma, realtor. And then I'm leaving the brokerage on there until I have a suspension or have some reason where I'm supplying documents and doing all the things. So the name is one thing you need to look out for in your settings. And if you're re-verifying or you're suspended or something, I would definitely go with the the shorter version without the keyword stuffing, like I said. Um, Business category, that shouldn't matter, and I don't think it matters. And this person didn't mention anything about the categories, but I am erring on the side of caution. So if I'm not being scrutinized, not suspended, not re-verifying or anything, I don't care. I'm putting agency might be my primary, agent might be my primary, whatever. I'm just putting them all in there. But for if you're suspended or you're re-verifying, I like to make sure that real estate agent is my primary one. Make sure agent, unless you're the agency, then agency should be the first one. But whatever you actually are, it should be exactly right. Because usually you can get away with either one when you're operating fine and not in trouble. I haven't heard anybody say it, but I am superstitious, I'll say, about possibly real estate agency being your primary category might get you more because why wouldn't Google see a company as a better place to send people than just like a person that works at the company? So I have, again, no evidence of that other than me seeing it in the search results lately, possibly a little bit, but that's just that I really shouldn't even put out in the world. But anyway, you want to make sure your primary category is exactly what you are. So if you're an agent, it needs to be agent. If you're an agency, it needs to be agency. And then I would probably delete all the rest of them. If you're an agent, I would not have agency as the secondary. Again, I'm not so sure it matters all that much as long as the primary is correct, but for sure the primary one and possibly delete the other ones. And then that also down the road, once you're re-verified, unsuspended, and you're going good for a long time, then you could start adding back categories again slowly and changing settings slowly once you're in the good graces. Any question on the categories part? Cool. Description would be the next thing you would see. The description, unless it's crazy out of line or a bunch of like spammy stuff, or you're putting lots of phone numbers and websites and things like that in it. A lot of times I do in my quote unquote compliance signature at the end of my description, I put the brokerage's phone number because I'm, especially now, trying to be as compliant as possible. Google doesn't necessarily like that. It did work in this description. Usually they'll just, if you change your description, they'll just block your change and not let you do it if they don't like it. So you usually don't get unverified or suspended, or the description is usually not a huge place that they're scrutinizing that much, unless if it's way out of line, way bad policy, off of policy, then you may need to adjust it. So your description, as long as it's a normal description and you're not doing any super spammy things or anything crude, lewd, or misleading or anything, then probably nothing you need to change there. But I would still read it and just make sure it all makes sense and there's nothing in there you're like, oh, well, that might seem weird to a AI reading this. So description shouldn't really be the issue, I don't think, but give it a look-see. Opening date, I would make the opening date exact match. If you're using the team thing with an LLC or an Inc., you want this opening date to exact match that formation document or the articles of incorporation or whatever. So if you're using Inc. or LLC or some kind of business entity, it needs to exact match that. If you are using your name, Derek Bixler Realtor, then the opening date needs to exact match my uh, real estate licensure date. So month, day, and year, all of them. It will allow you to put just a month and a year. Or some people like, well, I was licensed in 2006. I don't know the date. I'm doing my Google business profile. I don't feel like looking. So I'm just going to put in January 1st, 2006. Well, that's not what the date is. And you probably get away with it until now. But now, if you're getting scrutinized or you're suspended, or maybe they've changed the algorithm and they're starting to check these things on the back end more. And if it doesn't match, that's why everybody's getting suspended. I don't think that's it, but it's possible, and I don't know why they wouldn't do that. So your opening date should exact match either the business entity formation date or your licensure date, month, day, and year exactly. Uh, Phone number. Any questions on description, opening date? That's pretty straightforward, I think. Phone number. Typically, you're going to have your cell phone or some kind of number that you're answering religiously there. For most agents, at least, that's a cell phone. You definitely got to be answering that phone if you get a call from a 650 number, which I believe is California somewhere. That's usually where Google's calls come from. I'm sure, I mean, they should be learning to change it so that people don't know that. So it could come from somewhere else. And I think sometimes the people are actually calling from a different country or state or something. It's just routed through there. But typically it's a 650 number. Hopefully you're answering your phone anyway, because that's how you get leads off of Google. But you definitely want to be answering it. And if Google calls, you want to be answering that call. And are you open? Are these your hours? Whatever they're asking, just confirm and say yes. And then that's a good thing. I've seen an uptick in people getting those calls. Just again, over the last couple of weeks, multiple people texting me or sending me screenshots of calls or saying, I got this call from Google and is that legit? And is it a 650 number? Yes, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it probably is them. So I've seen an uptick in that happening for sure. So have your cell phone in there. Hopefully this cell phone matches, again, all your documentation, that cell phone bill that you're getting sent to the office. Hopefully it matches this number. Your website, if you have a phone number on your website, which you should, then you want to have this same number there. This number that you have in your phone number slot the primary phone should match all your stuff. There's lines for adding additional phone numbers. I add my brokerage as a secondary number. Typically, it doesn't show any other phone numbers in any view that I've ever seen. If anybody's seen anything different, let me know. Or maybe I've completely missed it. As I'm saying it, I'm pulling up my own profile. Yeah, no, if I click the call button, it just takes me right to my primary number. And if I say see all, so all my basic info, which would be my Calendly, my phone number, my website, it only gives me my primary. I click on it, only gives me my primary, and it displays my primary. So I'll still stick with that. Any additional phone number, I don't even know where it shows or why it's in there or how anybody would see it. But for compliance these days, I used to not add any additional phone number, again, because I don't even know where it shows to anybody. But these days I'm adding in the brokerage number there. That's just an additional note. I don't think you need to add the brokerage number there in order to get re-verified or unsuspended or anything. It's more that primary number and that matching everything. But for compliance purposes for real estate, I like to add that secondary in there. So at least, if nothing else, if I got audited or something, I can say, look, I inputted it in here. It's in there. I can't control Google not showing it to people or whatever. Plus, I have it in my description, and my brokerage name is in my name, so I'm pretty compliant. But anyway, you can add that, but I don't think you need to for verification or whatever. Uh,
Hey,
Go for it.
Derek, it's Braden here in South Jersey. Question for you. Will you have issues with, would I potentially run into an issue, do you think, with uh, having false information? I use my home address to get verified. And if I put somewhere in the description, of about my business, if I put, brokered by my broker and their address, do you think that would cause problems down the road?
Uh, I'd say no. I mean, with this, I hesitate to say no right now because it seems to be they're scrutinizing everything. But I mean, do you have to have the address in there? I would err on the side of no. I would not want to put it in there. Um, to be super compliant, it would be nice to have it in there. However, yeah, if I mean, the more AI takes over scanning these things, the more easy it is for, yeah, easily, like in your description, it says something different, dude. Or on your website, they for sure scan your website. There should be an accurate address there. Also, but when you're using your house and hiding the address, shouldn't matter all that much. But no, so to answer the question specifically, I would probably not add it there unless you think you really have to. If you think you really have to, just do it. And if the description in particular, I've been trying to change mine for like a year and it won't let me for whatever, I don't know why. And it's all within policy, the things I change it. Right now it's out of policy because my years in business is wrong. But if it blocks the description, it will just not let it happen. And if it doesn't let it happen, don't keep changing it and poking the beast. That's when it then turns into a suspension or verification issue. So I would leave it off. Phone number, obviously, I like to put like my compliance signature verbatim is it's my regular description, then a carriage return, and a Pennsylvania licensed real estate agent. And maybe if and I think I've tried to change this actually, I should have it say real estate salesperson because my actual license is salesperson. And if you're not a broker, don't say broker there. It should be whatever the actual license is. Pennsylvania licensed real estate salesperson with EXP Realty LLC. And then I have the EXP brokerage phone number 888, blah, blah, blah. You could try to add the address on there again. I probably wouldn't, especially right now. I wouldn't poke the beast like that. Maybe just add at least a signature without a phone number or address. Then, if you want to push it a little further, add the phone number there. And then, if you want to push it even further, add the address. And again, it'll just block the change typically, again, now I'm saying, who knows, they might have changed the algorithm, but typically it'll just block the change and not do anything else to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Uh, Especially, well, yeah, if you're not in trouble, that's the answer. If you are in trouble or re-verifying or something, then definitely make it all match and nothing out of whack. Website would be the next thing you see in your main settings. Website does matter. It's the least known, most important to your Google business thing, to your Google business profile. It can help you rank better if it's structured certain ways. It can also help you or hurt you in getting re-verified or suspended or not suspended. When you go through the re-verification form, it actually asks you for the website URL for this business, and it goes and scans it on its own anyway. So it's basically scanning that website to make sure everything is in line with what you're claiming on your Google business profile. It's just another level of documentation. First, do you have a website at all? Any reputable business should have a website, not a link trade, not a Facebook page, not all those things. An actual regular website doesn't mean it's got to be ranking number one, doesn't mean it has to be the bomb and cost you $50,000 to have made. It just needs to be an actual regular website, HTTPS, blah, blah, blah. agentderek.com or whatever. So they want to know first that you have a website, and then they want to see all the things reiterated on your website. So the phone number, again, matching, address, hopefully matching. They're definitely scanning the footer and all the information down there. Hours, if you have hours on your website, those should match. You can go further with tabs and menu items, matching services and those kind of things. But the basic things they're really looking at is, does it say that you're a real estate agent and or the team and the brokerage, and say all the naming things that it should match up? And then does the phone number, address, all the other main things also match up? So your website does matter. You do want an actual website, hopefully, and they will be specifically asking you for it, and they're scanning it routinely regardless. Even when you're not in trouble, it is routinely scanning your website to see if anything matches up. Any questions on the website? Pretty straightforward. Just make sure it's a real website and everything matches. Social
So,
profiles. Go ahead.
Derek, sorry, interject again. If you're using your home address and you're hiding it, and your website has your brokerage address, do you think that causes a problem?
It shouldn't, unless you get in trouble. You might just delete it from the website completely. You might be able to get by with it there, because it does have that maybe on your license. It gets tricky sometimes because maybe sometimes on a license or an insurance doc or something, it doesn't even, it has, who was it, Real Broker or somebody the other day. There is nothing with even the state address. Everything just has like the corporate headquarters in Toronto address on it or something. But I'm going down a tangent, I think. But yeah, I would, if you're in good standing and you're fine, I don't think it matters all that much. But if you're getting scrutinized or re-verifying or whatever, I would try to make it match as much as possible or remove it or whatever needs to happen. Um, if you are changing your address and you're changing it to your house, it will not allow it, it will not allow you to hide it. So you almost have to, and you want to anyway, but you change your address. So let's say you were at a brokerage, you switch to a cloud brokerage, and now I don't have an office to use, so now I have to use my house for my Google Business profile. So I go in there, change my address to my house. That's going to trigger you getting locked out of your profile and have to re-verify. And there was no way for you to hide your address. You could have hidden your address and left yourself verified at that brokerage office and just hide your address, but you went and changed your address to your home because for whatever reason you want to move your actual verification address there. But in changing that address, it never gives you the option to hide it. It's just going to make you re-verify. So technically what happens is you change your address to your home, you have to re-verify, and then after you re-verify, you hide your address for real estate compliance. If you're doing a live call with them, or if you're doing the recorded video, which is what happens first, hopefully your recorded video goes well and you don't have to do the live call step. In the recorded video, I typically mention blah, blah, blah as part of the video while I'm going through all the crap. Here's the address, here's my utility bill, and I intend to hide my address once I get verified. And they should know that you can't hide it until it is verified. So I feel like that was confusing the way I explained that, but essentially, I don't think it'll matter if things differ until you get scrutinized, and everything needs to match up. If you need to change it to your house, change it, verify, then hide it, and mention in the videos that you intend to hide it after you are verified. Was that confusing as heck? I feel like it was. Hit me up if that was too confusing. Or maybe I should keep it confusing so you have to call me. No. All right. So social profiles is the next thing on here. That I don't think matters, although they are scrutinizing more heavy. So hopefully these things at least match up. If you got your Facebook page in there, hopefully your Facebook page says you're a realtor and things match up. But again, I don't think the social profiles matter too much for verification or suspension stuff. Your business location, we just talked about, whatever address you put in there, it needs to match up with as much documentation as you can provide, especially a utility bill. Um, Service areas, your service areas need to be within 2 hours of your location, of your verification location. So some people do their whole state. Well, I can practice in my whole state, and if it's too far away, I'll refer it or whatever. But you now, and really never wanted to do that, but for sure now, don't want to do that. All your service areas that you select should be within 2 hours of your actual location. Again, because these are supposed to be local type of businesses, and doesn't make sense that a local business would travel outside of a 2 hour radius to do work. So that's kind of the limit Google has placed on it. So if you're being scrutinized, you definitely want to limit those to within 2 hours. Most people are already fine there, but just make sure you are within 2 hours of with all your service areas. um, and then we are to the one where you all need to change immediately. Again, I would not change the other things quite yet, or I would not change all these things all at once for sure. Um, a lot of times in the past, I would be changing a lot of settings all at once, but now with this higher scrutinization, I'm going to spread out changes, major changes in this tab a little bit more. But this is the one that I think you need to change right away, and it has to do with them calling businesses more. And this would be a way for them to very easily just suspend you or take you out of verification. You said you're open 24 hours. I called you. You didn't answer the phone. Click unverified, suspend it. Call next business. You didn't answer the phone. You said you claimed you were open these hours. You're suspended. They don't like sending consumers to things that are closed or not answered, or any kind of thing that makes Google as a service look bad or inaccurate. So sometimes they turn up the meters and, all right, let's start calling businesses so we get everybody to get their act together. So in the past, they were calling people. So we did exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to keep our hours within the hours that we're actually answering the phone. So usually that's 8 to 9, 9 to 8, 8 to 8, whatever you can do. The earliest and the latest possible is better, because you want to be open when others aren't. But you definitely want to move it back to regular hours. For a while there, we were doing 24 hours, because they changed the algorithm, the openness algorithm, or did people call it different things? Basically, they now rank out of who's open. So the people that are open when you search are typically above the people that are closed. So that being the case now, people want it to be open 24 hours, and I want to rank all around the clock. I want to rank even when doctors and nurses and logistics workers or military or truck drivers or whoever works all hours of the night, people that also have good jobs and money and need to research to buy a house. I want to rank them too, and I don't want to be out of the mix or below people just because I'm closed. We were going with 24 hours, and they weren't calling people really. That had kind of stopped. But now suspensions are up, verifications are tougher, and they're starting to call businesses again. So now I just changed the profiles that I manage. I have changed the hours to from 24 hours to the earliest and latest I will possibly answer the phone. So mine is 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. You could do earlier or later, but something around there is usually what people do. And make sure you are answering the phone. And again, that 650 area code, pay particular attention for that. But if you get calls that are not that, still should be answering your phone. And hopefully you're answering the phone again every time anyway, because that's the Google game, and probably missing out on other leads if you're not answering your phone. When I started answering my phone religiously was when I started running local services ads a few years ago. Turned them on, was like, holy crap, it actually works, because nothing else had worked like that. And at the beginning, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was like the best thing ever. So I turned them on, got an email about this new thing to try, turned it on. I was like, holy cow, it's actually working. But I wasn't answering my phone, so I was missing leads. I was getting charged for things. So I was like, all right, I got to turn these off and get my act together and figure my life out so that I can answer the phone every time. So I started answering the phone every time, started getting local services ads leads, but also realized that I was getting random calls on listings from my Google business profile, from Facebook or whatever, from other marketing that I wasn't getting because I wasn't answering the freaking phone. So got to answer the phone. Definitely for Google, it's a phone game. Um, but just for getting leads and talking to people and getting business, need to be answering the phone anyway. And now with this high scrutinization of Google business profiles, we definitely need to have those hours within when we're going to answer the phone, and we need to answer the phone. So hours, that's the one right now. If you're taking notes, to do it later, or if you're doing it right now, click on your edit profile tab, go to your hours, change it to from 24 hours to the earliest and latest you will answer the phone. If you already have it, that good for you. Don't need to do anything. Special hours, which is the next thing, which is your holidays pop up and you have to say if you're open or closed on the next holiday. Those shouldn't matter for verification, I don't believe. As a good practice, I do say, yes, I'm open on every single holiday, Christmas, Easter, all of them included, till it becomes a problem. Um, the most recent one, the one that might have shown up in your profile, is Columbus Day. But over the last couple of years, Columbus Day has gone away in favor of, I saw, Indigenous Peoples Day. So I've seen Columbus Day, I've seen Indigenous Peoples Day, and I saw that last year. I haven't seen that this year in any. Or some profiles just don't have anything for October 14th. So in general, play along. If you see Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day in there, would be the next holiday coming up. Click on it, click review, say you're open, be open on holidays. But again, the special hours I don't think will matter for your verification or suspensions. All the other extra hours you can leave alone and not use. I do like to put 24 hours for online service hours, but for verification and suspension stuff, I'd probably delete all that stuff. And then the bottom parts, the bottom things, the attributes they call them, like, is this woman owned, veteran owned, LGBTQ friendly or not? Do you need a appointment or not? What languages do you speak? All those kind of things down at the bottom. The attributes, again, I don't believe are going to have much impact on your verification or suspension. However, if you're being scrutinized, and you're going through this and auditing all your settings in here so that you can get re-verified or whatever, it is an opportunity to make sure they are all accurate. So if you're saying you're woman owned, hopefully a woman is answering the phone, or you could prove it if you needed to. Again, I don't think Google's looking at that, but all these things should hopefully be accurate. One thing, which doesn't have to do with verification or suspension, is that I would check for sure is in the planning tab. It says appointment required, yes or no. Make sure that says no by default, or possibly not by default. People just say yes for whatever reason. It says yes a lot of the times when I go into people's profiles, but you want it to say no. You don't want it to. You don't want people to read your business profile and think, well, I can't call them right this second to go see this house that I just saw online because they need an appointment required or whatever red tape is going to be involved. So you definitely want to say no, appointment not required. Again, that's not for suspension or anything, but I would say no to that for sure. And that's a mistake I see a lot in that tab. So that is all the things in the edit profile tab. Those are the only things you would have access to change or to audit and make sure are compliant when you're re-verifying or getting appealing a suspension. Any questions on any of that stuff or anything else? Recording will be available along with all the other videos that I drone on about kind of the same stuff anyway. But yeah, hours right now, I would, everybody, switch your hours, answer your phone if it rings, and then if you want to do the other kind of changes I talked about in there, then you could go through over the next few weeks and maybe every week make one change, or every couple weeks if you want to be super um, cautious about it, make another change. Somebody on mic?
Yes, Derek, this is Linda in Cypress, Texas. I had something that happened to me this morning when I went to do a Google review, that the sender of the Google review, I was doing some work where I was responding to them, and they came up with leave a Google review, a public Google review. And then I tried to put a picture with it, and that said the picture had to be in Google Photos. Do you know, have you seen this come up for anyone asking for a review?
Yeah, I think what you're describing is when you give a review, whether they request it or you're using the link or you go to their profile to do it or however the method of giving it, when you go to give somebody a review, it will give you the opportunity to add photos or videos to it. You can add multiple. When you click on add photos, I think it just says add photos, not videos, but when you click that button to add media to it, it will take you to a default folder. It might be just defaulting to Google Drive or something, because you
No,
should be able to select. Go ahead.
this was very different. This came up and then with a message that said a public Google review can only be using photos from Google Photos. I'm used to doing reviews and putting photos and media on them, but this was just different and I'd never seen this come up before.
Huh. Well, I'm doing it right now. Add photos. Yeah, my phone lets me pick whatever I want.
Yeah, I've had that before. I'll see if I can remember where I was doing that review a few hours ago and it came up, and then
Was
I'll
it?
text that to you.
Do you know if it was exact? It was actually like on the Google business profile. It wasn't some like go between like a rate my agent or something like that.
Oh,
That says it says give a Google review, give a public, like all that language sounds to
mm-hmm.
me like a rate my agent or something. Give a Google public review, but then when you click on it, something else happens and it's not actual Google. Like I don't know if that's the case, but
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was
sounds
just
like that.
odd. It was odd that, it came up and then it said only from Google Photos. And I'd never seen that before. So that's why I brought it up. I'll research it a little bit more and text you when I remember what I was doing. Short term memory is not the best when you're old. So what can I say?
You're not
I feel
old,
you.
Linda. Don't tell yourself that,
I'm just
Linda.
well seasoned.
Yes, you are, darling. Hey, can I ask a question, Derek?
Sure.
Or did you want to respond to Linda? I didn't mean to interrupt there.
We're through for right now.
We're
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
Okay. Um, Noticed something. So I just changed my hours on my Google page, and I noticed something I've never seen before. And down at the very bottom, underneath where it says edit your business information, it says appointments, and it has a link to my brokerage. Now, I have never put that there, ever. I've never put their link anywhere on any of my stuff. How do you think that happened? And what should I do about that? Maybe nothing, but I
It's
thought
the
that was odd.
bookings tab.
So it's underneath all my deets. It has,
Yep.
the first thing, it's got your website directions and do you want to save this location? And then it goes down to service options, and that's on site or online, says where it's located, my hours, my phone. And then there's the blue edit your business. And then under it, it has appointments with the link
Yep.
I never put there.
I probably did. So you can change it in the bookings tab where you would have a Calendly link typically. When we did it, I probably bugged you for a Calendly link and never got it. So we
Oh,
decided to put just a contact form in there. So typically, if
oh,
we don't have a Calendly link, we'll put a contact form in that spot because you want to have something in that spot to fill
oh,
that
under
slot or that get
appointments.
that. Yeah.
Okay, then. So I can change that because I finally did throw in the towel. But the reason I didn't do the Calendly, when I clicked through there, um, as if we have any privacy, y'all, really. I mean, I know we try, but it's almost laughable. Well, when I clicked on to set up my Calendly, however you say that, it was like, oh, it wants the ability to edit and change and go over here and pretty much run the show and sleep in your bed. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm not gonna know. I just felt uncomfortable with that. So I never proceeded with Calendly. And yet, and so I looked up, well, who owns Calendly? Where did this business come from? Okay, so it's a guy in Nigeria started it. That's where he lives. So, yeah, I'm sure that's safe as could be. I'm sure it is because, we've all got lots of messages from the Nigerian with $5,000 million they want. And please, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. Let me back up. Wrong of me to go down that path. I'm sorry. I just got a lot of spam from those who've said they were kings from Nigeria and they had all these millions to invest. So it was bad of me to brush that broad stroke, and I apologize if I offended anyone. Okay, so that was the reason why I didn't, because I did look into them. It wasn't just yeah, I don't like that. And I wasn't comfortable with it. And yet I'm seeing every freaking buddy using it. So what's your thoughts on that? Is Calendly the go-to, or do you have another suggestion, Derek?
Yeah, there are definitely other options. Personally, I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't like. Yeah, I don't. If I'm breaking the law or doing whatever. But if you are concerned with any of that stuff, if you wanted a American-owned company, say, I would not use Google's. Google's appointment thing sucks. It is terrible. Do not sign up for it. I can't even figure out how to get the one thing off of my calendar. There is no like, do not do the Google one. Um, Microsoft would be probably Microsoft and Acuity would be two of the bigger ones that I would think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
Microsoft, if you pay for Office, you'll get, and they pretty much just copied Calendly exactly.
Oh,
They just kind of like pulled up, they said to their
okay.
designers, hey, pull that up and copy it exactly. So Microsoft, you can probably use that for free. I think if you just Googled Microsoft scheduling, you could probably find it. When I used it last, you could only use it. It was web based. There was no app for it,
Mm,
but you don't really need. Nobody ever does it, so it never happens. You just need to fill the slot, and there's a couple
ah,
places where you need to put a Calendly link or whatever. But
okay.
Microsoft would be one, and then Acuity. You'd have to look up who owns Acuity. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you, but Microsoft's
It's
definitely U.S. I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I can't mind. They are right up in Seattle, good old Billy Boy. But and I come a little reserved because I have been hacked, and it was ugly, and it consumed a month of my life. And then they didn't stop there, so it started with there were this gang of people running with my card, and they had charged up so much freaking. The police, the sheriff, they came with canines. They knocked the doors down, people were
Oh,
running. Then they arrested her. And then I started getting the online threats. Then the FBI had to get involved. Then I had police paroling my house because I had little kids and I'm a single mom. It was a freaking nightmare. So I do
it
pay
does.
attention to that. And so I am security conscious. But again, I've thrown in the towel to think that I can shop on Amazon and have anything private. You so much as even mentioned something the other day. What was it? Oh, Sophie came home from Europe, brought me an Italian t-shirt, y'all, for my birthday. The next day, you can't believe the t-shirts from Italy that popped up on, and I posted it, and then I start getting just hit with these ads from t-shirts from Italy. Swear to God, just happened. So I know that they're watching us and listening, and so I'm trying to refine my voice. Seems how they're listening. But in any event, okay. So good to know, Derek. All right. Well, I'll get that handled, and like I say, I've thrown in the towel, so I'll just go with Calendly. But sorry
Yeah,
to
I mean, if
consume
you
so
don't
much.
want to, like I said, it rarely happens. Like my Calendly link, I if I get a email out of the blue that says preliminary home buying and selling meeting or call or whatever, it's like holy crap! It actually, and then it turns out to be spam usually or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, so
unless you're doing a
Derek.
huge YouTube channel, that could happen if you're like got a system down. But for most of us, it never happens. What I use Calendly like crazy for is if lender, hey, you want to get coffee or you want to get lunch or pretty much anything you ask me to do, I got a link I'm going to send you. I'm not going to go back and forth 10 times. It's going to be, hey, click this thing. And if you don't want to do that, I'm not going to see you or talk to you. So I use a lot more for that. So I don't necessarily think you have to. If you feel like you have to just for this, I don't know that you really do.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I'll just get that link removed off of there. I got my hours changed. Thank you, Derek. Sure appreciate you. You're always so awesome.
Yep.
Hey, Derek. This is Linda again. Just to continue, I was doing a rating experience for U-Haul, and then it took me to doing their 5-star, 4-star, whatever. And then it said, do you want to leave a Google review? And when I went to that Google review, it said, Google public review. And it said only, that you could only put pictures in from Google Photos. So that was the chain of events that had occurred that was just different than anything I'd seen before.
And when you were at the place to actually give the review, did it appear that you were actually right directly on the Google business profile, or did it appear that you were on some other go-between or something,
No,
or you can't
there
tell?
was no profile involved. This came in my Rate Your U-Haul Experience email. And so it was a
Yeah.
link to click and rate the review, which I did. And then it said, do you want to leave a Google review? And then it brought up a window with a typical, window for doing a review. But it only would take, I tried to add a photo and it wouldn't let me add it because I was doing it from my computer. And it said only photos from Google Photos can be added to a public review. So I didn't add anything
Hmm.
obviously and went away. I just thought I would, let you know where it was and if you'd ever seen anything like that. And if it happens again, I'll take a screenshot and send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. A screenshot, because it is possible that there is some new API or an API that does allow systems like Rate My Agent or whatever U-Haul's using to collect reviews or whatever, that allows them to be the go-between, so to speak, to the Google review. In the past, there wasn't one. If you went to a Rate My Agent and you clicked to give a Google review, it was just sending you over to the Google business profile to give one directly. It wasn't like you leave it here and then we send it through the wires onto your Google business profile as a review, which is what this sounds like. It would make sense if that was a thing now, that the system could do that, that possibly that system just once it can only be from a Google Drive folder for some reason for that system to work, is what it sounds like to me. But interesting. And if that's the case, I'd like to know. Or if anybody uses Rate My Agent or any kind of review request system, if it seems now as though it is acting as the go-between, and when you click to give a Google review, it does not send you directly to give the review on the Google business profile. I would love to hear about that.
I'll check my Google history too and see if it linked me somewhere. I'll let you know. Thanks so much, Derek. And just on behalf of me, and I'm sure everybody in this room, thank you for holding this room and keeping us Google safe.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking questions and coming in and supporting. And listening to the replays, my Spotify, that's the only stats I can see. There are actually not like lots of numbers, but a few people, and it doesn't tell me anything about who's listening, but there are people listening and to certain replays like over and over again, it seems like. But anyway, maybe they just like my voice or I'm talking about something good. Anyway, all right, I'll close her down. We're 15 minutes after, and I think I have a discovery call coming up and some content to make. So everybody have an awesome day, unless anybody has anything burning. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Derek. Great room.